Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your support all throughout the Monday to Friday of the show. Your support is greatly appreciated, and the figures are absolutely fantastic for us right across our social media as well. And Ruffy, you can't balk at it, but over 20 million people now just sucking up most of our content on YouTube, on Facebook and on Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. As I was telling you just before we come on air, you know, we're getting calls from Thailand, Canada, you know, and now San Diego. A boy was speaking to me the other day saying his brother watches it, so it just shows you, you know, how far and wide it is, and it just shows you many people from Scotland that are abroad who really need a football hit for Scotland. Yeah, absolutely, and it's just all those kind of places which is absolutely important for us to stay if we're ever going on holiday, Ruffy, because the last thing we want is expensive hotels. Yes. And I've been in San Diego, so that's a good port of call for us. Yeah, well, my son lives there, so yeah, we've got one port of call, but it'd be good to move about. It's a nice place. Yeah, absolutely. There's lots to talk about. I'm delighted that Ruffy is joined by our special guest. We only like winners on the show, Ruffy. Yes. It's as simple as that, you know. And Darren Young, the Stirling Albion boss, not quite got the trophy. It's coming at the weekend, which will be absolutely fabulous, and the fans will turn out in great numbers. It must be particularly pleasing for you as a manager to see yourself top of the table and 9 points to spare, no less.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was kind of speaking about earlier on, we were saying at the start of the season, we were kind of 7 games, the first 7 games Dumbarton were won every single game, and you think, geez, here we go, 11 points behind, but we clawed that gap back, and then again the gap opened up, 2 or 3 games cancelled, so we had to capture them again, 7 points, and then by then we managed to take over them and we've managed to kick on. But no, I was delighted to get it with 3 games to spare as well, kind of that last one at the weekend. But Saturday, looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get a kind of full house with about 1,500 there at the weekend, and gradually the crowds have grown and grown as the weeks have gone on, so we're kind of up to 1,500 the other day there, so hopefully we can get that. Can we get to 2,000 or 2,500? Be great for the fans and great for the city. Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope you get a great day. We're going to talk about Stirling Albion. Of course, Darren has played for more than a few clubs when he was strutting his stuff at Aberdeen. Not only that, Dunfermline and Dundee, and it's the Midas touch because they're all winning as well. One of them already with the title in the bag. We had James McPake in here last week. Don't forget, there's lots of content that you can consume on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, as well as Alex McLeish and that Gothenburg look back from 40 years ago. Neil Lennon, we launched it yesterday, that exclusive one-to-one with the former Celtic manager and player, and he doesn't hold back, talking about all sorts of things from his days at Celtic, his second time as manager, as well as looking at Omonia Nicosia and leading them out against Manchester United, as well as looking at Ange Postecoglou and what he's doing at Celtic now. It's well worth a watch. Neil Lennon is out there. And what about the quiz for Scottish Cup semi-final weekend? We thought we'd test your knowledge, or your memory at least. Which player scored the winner in Inverness Caley Thistles 2015 Scottish Cup final triumph? I wonder if you can remember, Ruffy.
No, you give me time to think about that.
Yeah, you'll need to think about it. Have you got the answer in your head? No, that's good. I'm glad I've got 2 rabbits in a headlight here, just staring blankly, thinking I can't remember it. John Yogi Hughes was the manager, and of course it was a dramatic end to it as well, as they were down to 10 men and still come up with that winning goal. We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. You might want to post it in the feed as well. And thanks to so many people. And our old mucker Davy Provan posted a wee message to us saying he's watching the show. He's obviously retired to sunnier climes in Europe and thoroughly enjoys it.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have the golf clubs out there. Davy likes a wee game of golf, and obviously the weather will be very, very good. So, you know, I think he'll be one of these people that misses his wee football hit as well. Yeah, absolutely. So in true fashion, let me tell you, having worked with him for many a year, let's not shilly-shally about when I ask you your opinion. Just straight in there, because Davey used to get in with the 2 boots and the stud showing, and if you didn't know what you were talking about, you get booted right out in the left field. Yeah, you're right. That's why he's earns pain.
and we're still working, Ruffy. You're absolutely right. Okay, we'll hear from Martin O'Neill and Alex McLeish. They used to lock horns as managers for the Old Firm, but now they were out today at Hampden talking about the semi-final. We'll hear from them shortly. We'll also discuss Stirling Albion. We'll get Darren's take on Aberdeen as well. Always good to get a little insight into one of his old clubs, and we'll get his thoughts on Falkirk against Inverness. We'll hear from a number of players who've been talking about the Player of the Year awards, because the PFA Scotland Player of the Year awards is taking place on the 14th of May at the Hilton in Glasgow, and quite a lot of people are obviously looking and starting to vote, and we'll get Ruffy and Darren's thoughts on Manchester City Arsenal. Looks as if Pep Guardiola could be celebrating a title win in the not too distant future. Simple as that. Yeah, we talked about Darren at Stirling Albion. It's been a fantastic run for you. Of course, you can enjoy it this season because when you look at what was the remit, was it when you came in there, Darren, after obviously your experiences of East Fife and Albion Rovers, was it stay in the division in a good healthy position, or was it you need to go and win it?
No, I think it was to challenge the playoffs, and my own personal thing as well. It was to do that. Obviously, the back of your head, you're like, right, if I can get a good squad together, recruitment goes well, get the guys together and buying into it, then hopefully they can challenge for the title. But obviously, I wouldn't come out and say that. you're obviously that's your aim. But if you can get to the playoffs, we kind of worked it in quarters. So every quarter, if you can get 13, 14 points, it gets you to the kind of playoffs. 17 points and above, it gets you to the title. And sure enough, the first quarter, well, it went well. Although Dumbarton had still a massive amount of points ahead. We got the 17, then we got 19, we got 19, and in the last quarter we're still kind of playing away the now, so we've got a healthy total now. But no, it was, for me, it was to get the title. Yeah, it's in the back of your mind. Personally, I've only been in the league 3 times, and the first time was as a player with Alloa, we won it. Second time as a player manager with Albion Rovers, we won it. And this is the 3rd time, so if you're needing somebody win the League 2 for you, then give us a shout.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll be even more blunt than that. If you want to win League 1, or maybe looking for a good man who could be a good championship manager, it's as simple as that, because the amount of people sometimes that get jobs and you actually look and you go, well, what's your CV, what's your experience, Ruffy? And we're talking about Darren. He's been on the show on more than a few occasions when he's guided teams to winning positions. Yeah, well,
obviously being on the board at Partick Thistle, and I know what it's like when you're looking for a new manager. These are the things that come into consideration when there's people out there. What have they actually done? Have they jumped a league? Have they jumped 2 leagues? How many clubs they've been at? Have they been successful at? And that's why you get an interview. And then obviously it's up to the candidate to do well at the interview and get the job. Yeah.
Do you feel guilty when you saw Darren's application and you thought, no, he's not ready yet, I'm just going to move on?
I hadn't won the league yet.
Never even gave us any feedback.
Yeah, exactly. Any chance you, by the way?
Why? Did you
Ruffy with that feeling of guilt washing all over you.
When I was there, but after me,
we beat us with East Fife when we were there in the cup.
Yeah,
we did. That's right.
Your face was tripping at the end of the game.
I know. What was really tripping is when I went up to the hospitality and Alec Ray was up there, his muckers, and they were rubbing it in as well.
Is that right?
But, no, it was really good games at East Fife.
Yeah, and saying that, if Dumbarton were your closest team, you gave them a thumping early on. I think I was looking at the 10 crucial games. 6-0 against them was magnificent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. To be fair, I wasn't even in the dugout then. I'd get sent off the week before against East Fife, and Jamesy took the team. I was sitting up the back with the hospitality, but just kind of behind the window. So, but no, it was, again, we'd spoken, the boys had worked on everything on Thursday, and then you kind of get in the change room just that wee bit earlier, speak to the guys, and then Jamesy and Bud kind of took over at the sidelines, and sure enough, we go and battered them 6-0. But that was some performance that day. It was probably the best performance of the season. And I think it was probably a turning point as well, because had they won, they could have gone 10, 11 points clear again, but I think we'd end up bringing it back to about 3 or 4 or something. So it was a good win, and the kind of stamps your authority, and they had a wee kind of wobble at that point, but the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely. An interesting point that he made there, and I wonder how many managers would admit to this, Ruffy, that you looked at the season in quarters.
Yeah.
Because I know Jack Ross used to do that. He used to give them an incentive and say, look, here's the next few games, we can do this, we can get here, if we do this, we get here. Does Ian McCall do that as well?
Colley did that. I think Colley's figure was 17 points in a quarter. He said if you get 17 points in a quarter, you'll not be far enough winning the league.
Yes.
And a lot of clubs sometimes control their bonus. run the monthly figures. You know, don't take a bonus, you know, every week. Wait until the quarter, because obviously money comes in differently, and it helps the club maintain the stability. But you know, I think players are gearing that way, and I think it's good if you make an incentive. You know what's at the end of the 3 month. You know what the target is, and I think players respond to that.
Yeah, of course, when you get to the end of the season, you look at the way you've won it, and obviously the players that have performed for you. I mean, I looked at Dale Carrick scoring 25 goals. You obviously, it's the players who vote for Player of the Year. Yep. Is he going to be in the running in that division? Is he the standout, or is there somebody who's going to give him a run for his money?
No, I mean, I think Dale should be up there for what he's done, the goals he scored, and the way he's performed for the whole season. But there'll be 2 or 3 other players. I think guys like Charlie Riley, we've kind of spoken about earlier on. I think he's had a great season as well. The big boy Tommy Goss as well at Annans scored about 22, 23 goals. Boy Heston as well scored quite a few goals. But for me, Dale, seeing him week in, week out, again, he's a great attitude. He's after training Tuesday, Thursday night, he's finishing, and again, that comes with his experience and his attitude and his desire to do well. And it's no coincidence that he gets that many goals when he works so hard off the park, the things that the fans and other people don't see.
Yeah, and as a manager, I mean, I would expect to see you as one of the nominees for Manager of the Year. Who do you vote? Have you passed your vote in?
Yeah, we've put our vote in.
Who did you vote for? It's not exactly. It's not exactly.
Do you vote for the managers?
Yeah, we just vote for the managers. The players will vote for the players, and then we'll just
in your league.
In our league, yeah.
And the managers one is
not in our league. The players vote for the players.
The players in their league.
But the managers just kind of vote for the managers overall.
Yeah.
Over all the clubs.
Who did you vote for?
I'd vote for Billy Dodds because of what he'd done for Inverness. Because they were down quite a bit, and I know they were under a bit of pressure. And to where they've pulled it way back, and they're in a Scottish Cup semi-final, and then they've got an opportunity to get to the playoffs now. So for me, I'd vote for Billy Dodds.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice, isn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously
because you don't think about these things.
No, well, it is a big debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if Ange wins the treble, you think, well, and then everybody goes, oh, what about the resources he's got, and what about this, and what about that? But that vote there is because of the football.
Yeah.
You know, the ability of where they were, and he nearly had a full first team injured for at least 2/3 of the season, and then they all come back, and then they started winning games, and to be fair to Dodgy, you know, he said to everybody, like, just hold fire.
Yeah.
Hold fire to get my players back, and then just judge me when they're back, and fair dues to him, you know, he's done everything that's been asked him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you look at Scottish football, just show how crazy it is, Darren. And I'm sure as you go on and you try and gain a more success with Stirling Albion, and hopefully as you go on get a full-time position as manager, when somebody realises the great job you've been doing, you look at Jim Goodwin, couldn't get a trick out of the Aberdeen players. Suddenly Barry Robson comes in. Yep. None of us thought Barry Robson was even going to get a sniff at your old club, and suddenly he's in the box seat.
Yeah, no, he's done brilliant. He's done tremendous. I know he's a good coach. Derek, my brother's still up there now. He's with the 15s and the 16s and stuff. So I know from him that how good a coach he is, and again, he speaks very highly of him. But I think it's the results business, and the results. I mean, 7 wins in a row. There's not many teams that will kind of go and do that during the season. And again, he's got, the way they're playing, the way they're defending. He's obviously got 1 or 2 guys out. He's brought 1 or 2 guys in, and I think that's made a big difference as well. Along with the strikers now look at their confidence back, and they're firing in goals left, right, and centre. So it's a good combination when the defenders are keeping the ball at the back and the strikers are firing them in at the top end.
Yeah, is there a source of frustration because you and Derek were loved so much by the Aberdeen fans? Is there a source of frustration when you see them having these tough times, and then you're looking at the side and you're saying, you're a manager, and you're looking at the side and saying, oh, he's got to sort that out. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious.
No, it's just that when you're watching football, you can kind of see it. Obviously, it's Aberdeen. There's obviously a strong relationship there for the past, but it's good to kind of see them do well. But no, fair play to Barry. For me, I mean, you see a lot of things, a lot of teams, even like with Ange going into Celtic, and they're talking about who is this guy, who's this, who's that. For me, go and give these people an opportunity and then see what they can do. Last week, I was doing my CPD event, and it was actually at Parkhead, and then we got taken along to Barrowfield and we got taken along to Lennoxtown, so we got to see them training, and although you see them on a Saturday, the tempo and the standard, the training for the first team is something else, and it's stuff that, I mean, I thought our tempo was good with Stirling, but I'm like, and it's, when you see it, it's just the multi-ball system and everything. I'm not giving too much away, but it's just constant, and there's no rest for the guys, and they come off, every one of them. It was not like a long session, but just when they're doing it, it's 100 mile an hour. Their touch needs to be good, their passing needs to be good, and it's just bang, bang, bang. So it was good. It's a wee eye opener for me to kind of see that as well.
Yeah, is it when you get the opportunity to go and see that? Apart from obviously looking at the training that he's holding, did you get a chance? Was the chat from him invaluable to you? Did it open any? I mean, you played at the top flight yourself, but did he open your eyes to something that maybe you hadn't thought about?
Yeah, he had a wee kind of interview back at Celtic Park after it, and he just kind of spoke, and it was firing questions to him. So some of the stuff is great, some of the stuff it's maybe stuff you already know, but just kind of reconfirming what you know or what you believe or how you kind of train. And again, it's nothing, I wouldn't say it's rocket science, it's kind of the basics, but you do them well and do them a kind of certain way and then have standards and things like that. So it was great to listen to.
Yeah, I've been in his company on a good few occasions, and apart from obviously managers at the top flight have to be guarded, I kind of get him in more relaxed situations, but you can still see that determination, that no-nonsense approach from him, and what he demands and the standards he demands from the players. Yeah,
you can see that in the training. So the standard that he's come in and he's set there's nobody kind of mucking about, and they'll have a joke and a laugh at the right time, but that was more when the water bottles or whatever, the wee break, they'll have a joke and laugh then, but then when they're right in it, whether it's a passing, possession, whatever it may be, shooting drill, or 10v10 game at the end or whatever, every single player's like at it, and they're getting on to each other in the right way, and it's like, come on, blah blah blah. So it's good that he's instilled that, and again that comes from the managers, because I know certain teams or certain clubs, as a player you can go in there, and if the kind of manager lets one or two things go, then before you know it, it's just kind of chaos, and you just kind of, it's hard to then bring it back and get back to the standards if you're letting one or two things slip.
Yeah, without giving too much away, was there one thing that stuck in your mind that you thought, oof, that's interesting?
It was just the tempo, just the tempo, and obviously that's not just changed overnight. It's obviously been a process from when he's come in, but it's just what he's got them at, and every single one of them doesn't matter what nationality or whatever it may be, the Scottish, the Japanese, the Chinese players, whatever it may be, every single player's just, it's like they've got this mindset, and it's just, I need to win the ball back, and I need this, and I need that. It's just right at it, full pelt, 100%.
Yeah, and it's a classic train the way you play.
Yeah.
You see it on a Saturday. You can see it. I mean, you ask anybody who comes up against Celtic when they're on fire, you know, it's very hard to deal with, because most of them have got large amount of ability as well as the pace and the tempo that they're playing at, and when they get into the last third of the park, you know, they're terrifying to watch when they're all on form.
Yeah, of course, we caught up with two former managers today of Celtic and Rangers. Martin O'Neill and Alex McLeish were out there at Hampden to look ahead to the big semi-final, where of course Michael Beale has to work out a way to stop this frenetic high press, the way that they go about their business. Celtic looking to chase down a treble, and Michael Beale looking for the first piece of silverware as the Rangers manager. Here's what two former managers thought today with Adam Binney.
Thanks, Peter. I'm at Hampden Park this morning to speak to former treble-winning Celtic manager Martin O'Neill and former treble-winning Rangers manager Alec McLeish to preview this weekend's Old Firm derby in the Scottish Cup semi-final on Sunday. Now, Ange Postecoglou's side have enjoyed plenty of success as of late as a result of that, drawing a lot of comparisons between his side and, of course, O'Neill's 2003 side are around that era. So here's Martin O'Neill speaking about comparisons made between current talisman Kyogo and his Celtic hero, Henrik Larsson.
Well, there's lots of comparisons here at this minute with Henrik Larsson. I think he's got a bit to do yet, you know. Obviously, he's only been, well, by comparison to Henrik, who did quite a number of years. He's been here about 10 minutes, the lad, but he's very, very good. Very good, definitely. Eye for a goal. Can turn in the box. He just seems as if that's what he wants to do, and he's really been excellent.
It's been a year since Rangers last recorded a victory over Celtic, and it came at this stage in this competition round about this time last year. So when that was put to Alec McLeish, he was able to provide an assessment of where he believes the power lies in Glasgow just now.
At the moment, Celtic seem to have a stranglehold on Rangers, and they've got such good athleticism, and very quick players and influential players who are making a difference in the last third.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key element of this, Ruffy, because for all we talk about, the players, how good they are, it's about that final third. It's about taking those chances, those clinical moments in the game is the key to it at Hampden once more at the semi-final stage.
Yeah, well, I think that's what the Rangers manager's holding on to. He believes that he's getting certain chances in the game, but the forward players aren't taking them, particularly last week against Aberdeen. He's convinced himself if they'd taken their chances, they'd have won that game. But you've got to do it. You can't just keep talking about it, and it happened at the last game against Celtic. He said, we had chances to win that as well. Every club gets chances in games. You've got to commit them, you've got to take them, you've got to go on and win them. So he's got to convince his players that if they do get chances, they've got to take them. Yeah.
What have you made of their encounters looking on as a manager, Darren?
I think the last game, obviously Rangers spoke about it, they'd had chances. I think obviously there is a gap there. I think Celtic are ahead. I think they've got a bigger depth than Rangers squad-wise. But as you said, you take your chances at the right time, and I think going into this semi-final, Rangers will need to make sure they don't make any mistakes, because that kind of gave Celtic the upper hand in the last game. So they need to kind of cut out the mistakes. But it's the same way we spoke about earlier on, you need to kind of be ruthless at both ends. Keep the back door shut, and then when you get your opportunities, you need to kind of take them, because if you don't, against the bigger, better teams, you'll get punished.
Yeah, when you were watching the training, I mean, Martin O'Neill has commented there on Kyogo and what he offers. When you were watching the training, was there a player that you're thinking, oof?
Probably McGregor, to be honest. Carl McGregor, just his standards and everything. I don't think he gave a ball away. Excuse me, just touch and just the way he plays. Just again, you kind of see it week in, week out. He's been a kind of standout for Celtic for me.
Yeah, and again, you bought right into that there when you were talking about train the way you play. I mean, the intensity of it is incredible.
Yeah, that's something I say to the players as well, because when we are doing drills or whatever and certain things aren't quite going right, again, you just kind of reiterate to them, like, you are here for a reason. You can't just play and turn up on a Saturday and expect it's going to do this and going to do that, and you need to work twice as hard in the training on the Tuesday, Thursday night, so that by the time you come Saturday, it just becomes normal and you're like up, back, through, and whatever it may be, deliver and get the finish on the end of it.
How difficult is it for you as a manager when you watch something like Ange Postecoglou training Celtic and the way they go about their business? How difficult is it to try and, your own squad, look at them and say, listen, realistically, I can't ask them to do things they're not capable of doing.
Yeah.
Do you try and just take little snippets and add them? Yeah,
there'll be bits you can take from it. I mean, I think probably the difference is that the drills in that are probably the same, but I'd say the difference with watching Celtic, smaller areas, and obviously they've maybe got better touches and more awareness. They're already onto the third man run, they're already looking for that next pass, whereas maybe at our level it's maybe not quite there. So that's kind of things you kind of try and coach into them, and similar, but again, different sizes in the areas and stuff.
Who wins?
Who wins on Saturday? I think there could be an upset. Sunday. Sorry, I think there could be an upset. To be honest, I think it's just like any other game. If they don't make the mistakes that they did in the last game, then you give yourself a chance. And if you take your chances when they come, then it gives you something to hold on to. So.
And if there's going to be an upset, then on the flip side of you being at Celtic's training as part of that convention, what is it about the Rangers side that has impressed you, and that player that you think is capable of driving them on to that victory?
I think there's one or two. It just kind of depends on the day. There's a lot being said about Morelos, but he does pop up and he always seems to get a chance or get a shot away. Kent, I'm not sure if Kent's going to be fit or not.
Yeah.
He should be okay. So again, Kent's on his day can kind of cause problems. It looks like he's maybe going to leave in the summer, but again, can he finish off with getting a wee goal or two and getting Rangers to the cup final?
Yeah, you've sampled semi-final wins. You've scored a winner in one of them as well.
Yeah. A while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was actually Inverness.
Yeah.
So I remember the first game we drew them at Hampden and lost the ball at the edge of the box, come out for a corner and I've lost it, and they went up and scored. I'm like, oh God. And then obviously later on that half I managed to get the ball down the wing and put one in for a big brew, take it to a replay, went up to Pittodrie, and then we won 3-1 the replay, and I managed to score in there. So fond memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry, I don't mind stroking your ego, because Ruffy's contract means I've got to mention all his successes from time to time. Okay, there's an opinion. Rangers to win the first one, the second one. We'll get Darren's thoughts on Falkirk against Inverness, because that is, I think, unfortunately for the two teams, they're looking at it and saying, well, enjoy it, it's a chance to get to Hampden, but after that, the general consensus is you're in for a battering.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be in for a battering. I think if they get whatever one gets to the final and whoever it is they're playing, they'll be organised. I think they have to look at the game and look at the obviously strengths and weaknesses and whichever team they're up against, the players that are going to hurt them. So I think nowadays the teams in the Championship and the First Division can be organised, and you just want a wee bit of luck on the day. We've seen it before. That game you put up there in Inverness, winning. I mean, I don't think it will happen. I think the gap now is absolutely too big.
Yeah.
Far, far too big. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I know you kind of danced around it there, Ruffy.
Are you asking me who I think?
No, I'm just becoming less and less tolerant of you. Just giving them a wee scent of hope. When last night I said to you... Now, what did I say to you last night?
A game and go, we're going to get battered here.
What did I say to you last night?
What?
I said to you, Man City will batter Arsenal, and you went, it's going to be close.
Oh, I thought it would be. I thought Arsenal had a fantastic season. But
I thought Arsenal had signed a contract that they were not allowed to go into their half at one point, because when they scored after 6 minutes, I was going to text you. Anyway, I'll get your thoughts on Arsenal in a minute. But Falkirk Inverness, again, when you look at their sides, Falkirk a division below, you would expect, as Darren's rightly pointed out, the qualities that Billy Dodds has shown at Inverness should be more than enough.
I think he's got his major players back. Billy Mackay obviously bags experience. The boy Welsh is a big player for them. And even at the back, they've got tons of players there that have been about for a long time, competing at this level, and a lot of them probably have been in semi-finals, quarter-finals, whereas possibly Falkirk haven't experienced that. They'll be turning up on the day at Hampden. It's a big occasion. If you've not been there before, sometimes it can just hit you a wee bit before you realise what's happening. I think that might be the case. So I think Inverness will win it, because I've witnessed them now that they've got most of their players back and they are playing particularly well.
Yeah, Darren, if anything, there's a consolation in the fact that Falkirk do have goal scorers in their side.
Yeah, I mean, they'll cause problems, there's no doubt, and again, whatever team kind of gets to the final, it's probably a cup final before the cup final.
Yeah.
Whoever wins and you get to that showpiece in Hampden. But I think for me, Inverness having everyone back, they're on their own, everything, they've got the players fighting and pushing for the promotion and for the playoffs, and now they're obviously been fighting to get themselves in the team for the cup semi-final. I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think it'll be like maybe a 2-1 or a 1-0, something like that for Inverness.
Inverness. So both of you going for Inverness. Just give me the mindset of someone like yourself who's playing in a good side that gets to the cup final, and you've been there. I think 3 times you reached that final. What's that mindset when you think to yourself, is there something that you have to, as well as hoping Rangers or Celtic, whoever gets there has to have an off day? Yeah. Is there always something that the manager has said to you when you come up against the big sides? Listen, the only way we're going to win this is...
It's just basically hard work. I think, I mean, the times that we got in there, it was Celtic in the cup final and it was Larsson, and we actually went 1-0 up. We went 1-0 up, so we were in at half time 1-0 up. And I remember it, the corner comes in, it was about 55-60 minutes, and it was big. Bobo Baldy punched the ball, Brewster went up for the header, Richie Burns up for the header, and Baldy's in the middle. We don't see it, it gets punched out, goes to Sutton, he humps up the park to Larsson, takes a touch, young boy falls over, and Larsson goes in and does what Larsson does, and that was it. You could just, it was just felt there, oh no, 60 minutes, and then next minute 2-1, 3-1, but had the referee seen it? They never seen it at the time, not much got made of it in the press the next day either. It'd be a penalty, it'd been a sending off, you could have been 2-0 up, and it's just wee things like that. But you have the belief that you're going to have to work hard, you're going to be knocking your pan in, and then it's just when you get your chance, which we did at the time, we took our chance, you go in at half time 1-0 up, be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Did you not win man of the match?
Yeah, the 2007, I think it was 2007, second win. So it was that was a toe poke with Doumbé or whatever it was, Pierre Doumbé, toe poke with about 5 minutes to go, so absolutely gutted. 0-0 up to that point, and again we'd had 2 or 3 wee half chances. I think Birchie had a couple of chances, and I think maybe Craw as well, and then it wasn't to be. Like, but you know what? It's just one of these things.
Did you do? And it's obviously something that you're going to have to personally try and remember. But when you had the man of the match award and you went into the dressing room, did you do what Ruffy would do? Is go in there and go, "Well, I played well."
You better used to hate that. we'd lose a game or something like that. Ibrox would be 3-0 or something, and obviously everybody would go into the dressing room, and I had to hold back. And I'd come into the dressing room. Where have you been? Why are you hanging about? Oh, I'm just going to be getting a man of the match.
You had it once at Dunfermline. It was the time when Lennon scored. We get beat 8-1, and Big Leishman was the manager at the time, and he's like, going mental erupting, and he's like, right. And darling, you need to go up, you get man of the match. I was like, I'm not going up. And he's like, you're fucking get up. And I'm like, 8-1 we've been beaten, I'm going to go up and get man of the match for Dunfermline. I was like, you're going to be kidding me on here.
Aye, that's the moment if you're the host interviewing him, you just say, do you feel the sixth one was offside? It's your worst
I feel I
night.
should have played alright that day.
Brilliant. As far as players who have got that brilliant mentality, remember Smudger said that one day. Gordon Smith was talking about playing for Man City and they'd been battered and they thought, I played alright, I scored. It stuck in my head and I thought that's a great player's mentality to it. Of course, all the players we mentioned are voting for Player of the Year. Who's your Player of the Year? Who's your Manager of the Year? On the night at the PFA Player of the Year Awards, there will be Young Player of the Year as well. You might want to give us your thoughts on that, because I think the nominees will be coming out in the not too distant future before we get to obviously the 14th of May. In fact, I think next week, Ruffy, they'll probably have all the votes back in and people will start to look and say, okay, from the 4 I'm going to pick one.
Yeah, and I think they release them, don't they, in stages, through all the divisions and everything. The young player of the one is the one I can't get my head around, because you're not told me the age group. It's under 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you see all these players playing, you don't know really what age they are. You just say, oh, he's a quality player, and then you find out he's no.
If my memory serves me correct, Ruffy, it used to be under 23.
It was under 23.
Yeah, it's under 23 from a certain age, a certain point in the year. So I think it's under 23.
Well, my standout, I mean, I don't know what age he is, but my standout in the Premier League for the younger players that I've been watching is the boy O'Hara.
He's 34 now, Ruffy. They're doing a testimonial for him.
He's like 26, right?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
26.
Yeah,
he's been a few.
He's like He's like you and Jackie McNamara. Every time I see Jackie McNamara, I say to myself, "You are definitely drinking from a spring that I'm not drinking from." He looks in great nick. Blair Spittle, just before actually Motherwell played Celtic, he mentioned his vote for Player of the Year.
Just think he's been brilliant. In a Celtic team that's been very, very good all year. It was between a few of their players, to be honest. I think the consistency levels they've shown, so he got my vote.
Yeah, Hatate was his man.
Is he 21?
No, it's Player of the Year.
Oh, Player of the Year. Well, I've told you my 3. I've got 3 and 3 for Celtic, and I've now been swayed towards
Van Veen. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, it was Van Veen or Shankland, but I'm getting it to Van Veen because most of Van Veen's goals have been goals. Obviously, a lot of Shankland's have been penalties. But it's not to say he hasn't had a good season, but if it was between they two for my 4th vote, it would be Van Veen.
Yeah, for you, but not for the overall Player of the Year.
No, my three are the 3 Celtic players: McGregor, Hatate, and Kyogo.
And who would you pick out of the 4?
I'll wait until a couple of games coming up. Then.
Yeah. What is that tight? Is it that tight?
No, Hatate was winning it for me hands down, and then obviously he's been injured. He's been out of the limelight. He's not been seen. Kyogo's not been scoring as many goals as what he's been scoring. But I was Hatate for a long time, and then I switched to Kyogo. And I'm maybe back at McGregor again.
because he said he looked great in training.
When I watch McGregor, and you have to realise McGregor's played every game.
I know.
Every game.
Scotland
he's there,
as well.
He's playing all the time. He's controlling the games. You killed me when you. And I don't mean he's similar to Modric, but he controls games.
Yeah.
He makes himself available. People are in tight positions. Give me the ball. Yeah. Centre half struggling. Give me the ball. That's what kind of seasons he's had.
Yeah. When I look at him, season in, season out, I just think over the last 3 to 4 years, he's been the best midfielder in Scotland because, as you say, he doesn't give the ball away. And even with Hatate in there, I think McGregor's work rate and how, you know better than anybody, playing in the middle of the park. Can you imagine centre halves, defenders who've got a midfielder who always wants the ball wherever he'll take it anywhere.
That's the thing, and he's got the ability to back it up as well, and he's got the skill to get out of the positions, and then he takes it to a high level when he goes and plays for Scotland. And again, it's probably no coincidence Scotland are doing so well when he's kind of playing as well. But no, for me, he's been outstanding, and ever since kind of Brown's moved away, went to Aberdeen and stuff, then he's kind of stepped up to the plate and kind of taken over that mantle.
And have you got 3 or 4 that you think that would be the 4 for me?
For the action, probably similar to kind of Ruffy. Obviously Van Veen's been rattling the goals as well, and Shanklin's done very well over the season as well. But probably kind of just the similar ones. To be honest.
And who would get your vote?
Probably McGregor.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, for me, he's done brilliant. He's made not as many goals, but he's always involved in the build-up, as you say. He's the way they like to play when it's pressing high up the park, or when it's him getting on the ball and starting it all off. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, and Rangers obviously have announced the Club Player of the Year nominations, which gives you an indication of, potentially, someone that the Rangers fans have enjoyed. Certainly their players have looked at all the performances. James Tavernier, Malik Tillman and Borna Barisic are the nominees, and the Young Player of the Year, Tillman again, Adam Devine and Leon King. So that's the type of players that have caught the eye for their fellow teammates.
Yeah, well, I think Tillman would win the Young Player of the Year. He's been playing most of the games. The other boys, youngins, haven't been playing. But the other ones are interesting, that none of the 2 players that might be moving got a vote.
Yes.
So that might be sweet.
Don't need any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to be fair, I mean, listen, you don't have to. The people that you can't fool, or you can't fool the Rangers fans who've watched them, and the teammates look at them and they're playing with them and they know the score. But the fans look and they say to themselves, well, what's your contribution? Players that can grab a game and change it are the ones that catch your attention.
No, usually that's the ones. It's usually the goal scorers and stuff like that, or if it's a defender, so it's clean sheets and things like that. But yeah, usually the more kind of attacking flair players end up picking it up. Yeah,
of course, Rangers been linked with everybody in their granny. That's what happens, Ruffy. You start to, I'm sure some people just, having spoken to an agent, just throw something in there. We know the mechanics of it. I used to do it myself in a morning at 8 o'clock, phone every agent in their granny, then speak to a few players, then 2 and 2 makes 5. By the way, he could be there, not necessarily going there. I think we've got Rangers looking at potentially Chris Willock, who played under Michael Beale at Queen's Park Rangers.
I said that last week, although he's saying he's got a budget there. I said it'd be very, very interesting where he goes and identifies players, and with him being at Queen's Park Rangers, he's obviously saw the standard that's at the Champions League and the Championship down there, and he'll think they kind of players can play in our league. So it's interesting. It's a QPR is one of the first ones he's identifying. I think there'll be more players from that division that he'll try to attract. It looks as if it's players that are going to be out of contract. There's not going to be a lot of money splashed on, because he'll save that for maybe 1 or 2 big ones. Whether it's Tillman, we'll have to wait and see. But if he starts splashing that kind of cash out in Tillman, he's going to restrict himself for other players. So I think there'll be players for the Championship that are looking for a better deal.
Can I ask you this, and obviously difficult for a manager to comment on other players who potentially could sign a deal with them. Tillman's got a lot of soul searching to do himself, and his agent will have weighed up 1,000,001 other offers. Would you push the boat out if you were Rangers? Is he the type of person that could be the linchpin for the Rangers under Michael Beale, his side, to drive forward and win the title?
I don't think he's proved he's a £5 million player yet in our league, or in the big games against the Celtic game. If he was getting into the game at the weekend and control that game, it would give him something to think about. But like Darren's saying, it's not just the games that he's playing, it's Monday to Friday. What's he doing in training? Is he sticking out? Is he doing things in training that is worth the £5 million? Okay, he's got to do it on a Saturday, but the boy might be, he's only young, isn't he? He's very, very young, but £5 million is a lot of money if you need to buy 5 or 6 players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really been a bit inconsistent for me at times as well. There's times he's like, this guy's a world beater, and then there's other times, I don't know if it's just the way he comes across, he just looks a bit lazy. But it's again, they'll see him day in, day out, week in, week out, and they judge for there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, would you spend that sort of money on Malik Tillman if it is to be indeed $5 million? Is he the man that could turn Rangers' fortunes around? It's a big call, for, of course, Michael Beale has got to look at him and assess what he's got to offer and whether he is the man that they build that midfield around. But as you said, Ruffy, I just looked there at his age. He's only 20.
I would hazard a guess that Rangers will try and save the money and go back to his club and say, can we get another year?
Do you think so?
We get him on loan for another year. He's a young lad. If you're only going to use him, let him be with us. Let him get another year under his belt, and that would be a bonus for Rangers, because that's saving £5 million right away.
Yeah, and of course we mentioned there some of our exclusive interviews. Neil Lennon, the former Celtic manager, looking over what Michael Beale is facing in the summer, mentioned that he has to get a certain calibre of player that knows and has what it takes to survive in the red hot atmosphere of Glasgow. How big a summer do you think it will be for him? Because that's not really his side, and he needs, a lot of backing.
I think he needs a rebuild. Still some of the best players are your Taverniers, your Golsons. Some of the players who have come in haven't been, maybe they've been good players, but they haven't cut it in Glasgow. So he needs to go find players who can, and it's difficult, Pete, cut the mustard in Glasgow. And the bottom line is, you have to finish ahead of Celtic, and you have to beat Celtic.
That's it. Second is nowhere in Glasgow, as you are well aware, guys. And that's really what Michael Beale is facing. If you're a Rangers fan out there, give us your thoughts on who you think they should be keeping of the players that are there. Interestingly enough, this doesn't affect you because Stirling Albion are up a division, but there is a vote going on at the SFA for a new Conference League. What's your take on that? Because I know that Celtic, Rangers and Hearts and Aberdeen will be looking to go in there with 6 clubs from the Lowland and the Highland League, and it's the B teams that are in there. Do you think it's good for our game?
I don't know, to be honest. I know that kind of stops us from trying to loan players as well, so that's been a wee thing as well. Obviously, there used to be enough kind of players, Rangers, Celtic wise, or whoever it may be. Even last year, Hibs were in the kind of European competition, so you couldn't get any Hibs players until they get knocked out of Europe. And what you're kind of finding is with these teams, it's like, we've got these 4 European games, and they play the 4 European games up till January, and that's all they've kind of played. Then if they win, they've got another 2 after that. And usually the way it's worked out the last few years, they've ended up getting knocked out. So you've got these clubs kind of keeping these younger players that could maybe be playing 20, 30, 40 games with us. Probably a perfect example is young boy Kai Fotheringham. Came to us for the first part of the season, and then sort of 2 hours before the deadline, Dundee United took him back. But from your point of view, obviously gutted, but delighted for the boy, because it's to come and to get him to play in the first team, and he's sure, and he's done that. He got himself a new deal. He's playing in the first team. I think he started maybe 3 or 4 games now, and that's obviously to come to teams like ourselves, go and prove yourself. He got like 5 goals, 15 assists, and he was outstanding for us. And on top of that, he goes back there as a his confidence in there good enough to be playing week in, week out for them. And again, it's the other ones, the B teams. It's not any different to, they've played against each other in the Pro Youth all the way through. So now it's just like, we'll make a B team. So you're now playing against each other in the B team along with the Lowland League teams, or whatever it may be, or the Highland League, or whatever it is. It's getting thought about. I still go back to, and Ruffy would have been the same when you played in the reserves and you were playing against men and week in, week out. But again, I just feel that, is it going to end up with a full Premier League of B teams by this time next year? Is it going to be, that worked, and then we're going to bring another 3 or 4? So your reserve league is now a B league, and they're all saying the under 20s get stopped because they're going to a B team, and now the B team. So it's just as if it's a changing of a name, but all the players are still playing against each other, and they've been playing each other since they were 10-year-old.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that every player who comes in here, Ruffy, mentions, the fact that if you are going to learn at a young level, it's better getting that experience of older players. You see the tricks of the trade, you understand how to play in certain games against older men and with older men who can talk you through it.
Yep, I was 16 when I played my first Partick Thistle reserve game against Rangers at Ibrox, and most of the Rangers first team were playing in that reserve team. They're the ones that weren't obviously picked.
Yeah.
And they beat us something like 6-0 that day, but even walking into Ibrox and playing at Ibrox as a 16-year-old against the guys that you'd seen their names, or there's Jim Forrest, or there's whoever, and it's a learning curve, it is, and as you say, the more games you get against them, and it was the old reserve league then, and it was always Rangers, Celtic, Partick Thistle and somebody else, so you're playing against Celtic and Rangers as a young lad growing up and trying to learn.
Yeah. Was there particular players that you remember playing alongside you who helped you enormously?
Yeah, there was Peter Harrison, there was Brian Grant, there was Paul Kane. They were the kind of midfielders at the time that were kind of in the reserves when I was kind of coming through, and they were perfect. They were great. They helped you out, and if you'd done something wrong, they would get on to you, but not in the right way, and then maybe pull you aside after the game or pull you aside at half time to talk to you and help me. And same you're playing against, it's like I was just saying, you're playing against Rangers, and you've got guys that have dropped in to play in the reserves, you're like, geez, it's guys that you're watching the TV, or international players that you've never ever come up against, and you're a wee 17, 18 year old running about trying to get the better of them. But it's great for your experience to be playing with those guys in your own first team, but again against other guys.
The good thing about it as well, you were playing in the real stadiums.
Yeah.
You were playing, where they play. You weren't playing, at Broadwood, or playing down the road with nobody there. And most of the big teams all had good reserve supports.
Yeah.
So you're playing in front of a reasonable crowd.
The other thing I was going to ask you, and it's an interesting point you make, and it's probably even more difficult for managers in your divisions, and you've highlighted it, was the fact that some players are not being released by the bigger clubs to play at a club like yours. But secondary to that, how frustrating is it when you find out that you want to get a list of players into your club, you're in the first division, this is a real chance for people to look and say, well, we've won League 2, we're now in League 1, kick on, come and play professional football, and then they say, well, I'm going to a junior club, they can offer more money.
It's been happening for a few years now. It's just one of these things you need to kind of accept. There's guys in the juniors that are maybe they've done very well, and fair play to them. They've maybe never played Lowland League, they've maybe never played League 2 and League 1, and they'll be getting double and treble type of money that we've been offering, which again, fair enough. Some of the younger guys have maybe got a wee bit of ambition, and they'll want to come and say, oh, do you know what, I've got a wee chance here, or maybe 19, 20, 21, and if I do well, then I can maybe kick on, I can take a chance in League 1, whatever it may be, get spotted from there and then go up through the leagues. But there's quite a few now that as it just feels like it's you're up against that kind of money thing, and it's just one of those things. If you've got it in fair play and use it wisely, but I think more often than not you can kind of see where a lot of these teams that are coming in and chucking money at it, and then a year or two later it's not there anymore, and you find that the team's not there either.
Yeah.
How does your present players that you have on relate to you bringing in loan players for senior clubs? Do they buy into it?
Yeah,
there's a level
you try, and again you can kind of see the standard of the players that are kind of coming in. Obviously not every loan kind of works out, but they can kind of see, especially if it's the younger ones, the kind of level that they can be at. We've got the under 20s and we'll have a couple of guys train with us, so it's good for them to see a guy who's they're maybe 18 and the guy's maybe in loans 18, 19, and you can kind of see the difference for the standards and that to kind of get up to that. But most of the guys are fine with that side of things, and as long as the guys are working hard and doing well, then they'll accept them if they're kind of mucking about. I mean, we've had guys, not to name names, but who just kind of come in from maybe Premier League teams like over the years that I've been a manager, and the players are kind of coming in thinking, oh yeah, and then next minute the wee guy's not good enough to be playing week in, week out, and you find yourself on the bench, and it's like, oh, how am I not playing? Like, well, have a look in the mirror first and foremost. I think they come and they're maybe mollycoddled or pampered, and then they come into the big bad world and they realise that, oh, do you know what, I need to work harder here, or I need to be better defending, and I'm good in the ball, but they don't want to do that other side of the game. Whereas first and foremost, if you've got the other side of the game and then you've got the ability and the skill, then you find you'll go kick on and do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Managers obviously coming up to a critical period where they know they're going to lose players, and obviously when you get a bit of success you want to be rewarded with a contract. Stephen Robinson is hoping to extend his stay at St Mirren, which I think the fans will be absolutely delighted with. I think he's done a remarkable job. I think it'd be a great move by St Mirren to get him on a new contract, Ruffy, because his budget was cut. He highlighted the fact that he was losing players. He's already saying that Curtis Main and Charles Dunn are almost certainly going to leave the club in the summer. So yet again he's got, a rebuilding job, and hopefully try and achieve similar, if not better, although he's raised the bar so high for St Mirren getting into the top 6.
Yeah, you would have to say that his success has put him under pressure if he signs another 2 years, because he's obviously looking at the budget. I think they've already put out there, they've lost $1.5 million this year. This is obviously going to affect his budget. You're talking about 2 players leaving there, so it's a big gamble for him, but he's done particularly well this year, and he'll have the belief within himself that he can do it again, whatever's thrown in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the St Mirren fans definitely want to hear that he's signed a new extended deal. You can tell it's live, by the way, because Tom McManus has just said, it's great to see Darren in the studio, and he says, can you get him to tell everybody what it was like playing McGeady at Parkhead? He's such a noise up, isn't he? Did you have a particularly joyous experience?
Well, I came back from injury and I get stuck in it right back, and it was like that. Stephen Kenny at the time, I remember Tam and all having a laugh, and it was just right up against him. I'm like, oh, here we go. And it's one of those ones you're not going to be able to deal with him, so it's just uptight, and you're getting the winger to come back and double up. And there was this one time he just done this wee 1, 2, 3, and he was away. I was away looking that way, and he was away that way. Fires the ball, and then it was a goal, and I was still standing where it was. But Tam always likes to have a wee laugh and a joke. But the reason he could see it, because he had a good view for the bench.
That's the kind of reply we
That's exactly what we like, Darren. Absolutely.
Cheers for that, Tam.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say to you, it's hard to believe, but he's still strutting his stuff for him. He wants to play on another season, and he's still got the tricks.
I know, he's injured. I seen him, he was strutting his stuff on Sunday night as well in the Wonder Bar, but that's enough. The rest of the Hibs boys.
Yeah, some things never change. Remember him down at Everton as well, Ruffy, driving his Ford Mustang at the time.
With the exhaust making a bigger noise than every other car that left the car park.
Yeah, shyness, but nevertheless, he's one of those players that lights up a division, lights up a team. You've got those. I mean, they're the special players that you got away talking about.
Yeah, no, he's been great. Even when I know he's had a few injuries, but when he's been playing, you can see he's still got the quality and the ability just to go by a man as if he's not there and then just deliver. But I think he's injured now, so. Yeah,
well, a bit of luck. Hopefully he gets another season at Hibs. I mean, I know I took pelters for it at the time, Ruffy, when I said he'd come back and he'd be a player that could easily cut it at this level. And that's sometimes, and I still think, and I know some Hearts fans won't like it, but I mean, I watched Robert Snodgrass and I thought he was bossing some games, passing the ball. Maybe some players didn't like his attitude, which was he wants to win games and he doesn't like slackers. Yeah. But I'll tell you, when he tells his story, you wait till you hear what he's got to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You would think with his amount of experience, he wouldn't have left Hearts lightly, and it'll be interesting to see what he says.
Is it live for here, is it?
Eh?
Is it coming live for here?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's not for a lack of asking him, by the way. But I think there might be a few shekels to pin him down to it. But nevertheless, you want. I mean, apart from anything, I'm not advocating that every player who's coming to the twilight of his career comes back to make this like a football graveyard. But sometimes when you get someone who's had that experience and they can show players the professionalism and it rubs off, to say you've actually, I mean, the amount of people who would look and say Moravchik at 33 years of age come in and people look and go, my God, look at that guy left and right foot. Aidan McGeady at Hibs, there's not telling me players at Hibs don't look at him and think,
yeah.
I mean, never mind his flick start and his work rate and his passing.
Nah, he's still got it all. He's still got it all. It's just a shame he's been injured.
Yeah. Was there a player that you played with that you thought, maybe an older one or somebody that came back, you didn't really have an impression of, but you thought, bloody hell?
Probably Ian Jess. Obviously had started out when Ian Jess was there, and then obviously he left and he came back, and again when Jesse came back, obviously a wee bit older, but he was still all the ability and the tricks, and again he worked hard in training and stuff. I wouldn't say he went back the part that much when he was playing at that point, but I was maybe doing most of that running for him and then just passing the ball to him. So, but no, he's again just attitude and wanting to do well and training, just brilliant.
Yeah, Ian Jess was a class act as well. I liked him as a player, Robbie, did you?
Yep, he picked up bad injury as well, didn't he? Was it his back or something like that?
Later on.
Yeah, eventually curtailed his career. But good goal scorer, great touch, good skills as well. Yeah, thanks for that, Tam. But thankfully, Darren's got a few good lines to fire back at you. I watched it last night, Ruffy, the English Premier League. You know what we're like. We always like to, it's a football show, we like to talk about every game. As far as the results from last night, big one for Nottingham Forest, defeating Brighton by 3-1. Chelsea couldn't buy a win. Frank Lampard is the only man who'll be booed out of Stamford Bridge twice as a manager. They lost to Brentford. West Ham, you're going to hear from Davy Moyes in a minute. He's not happy again with the refereeing in this one. But Man City, they were just They were just too good, Ruffy, because the passing was unbelievable. Their movement, Arsenal could get out of their own half at times.
Yeah, when I started watching the game, obviously the first goal I went, I just lumped it up the park now to Haaland. And they lumped it up the park and they laid it off and De Bruyne ran down the park and scored. And I went, that's the way to play. You don't have to pass it. It was just magnificent. And after that, I mean, we talk about all the quality they've got down there, but see when the really, really big players turn up, you're up against it.
Yeah.
And De Bruyne and Haaland were just a menace every time the ball went near them.
Yeah, absolutely. De Bruyne is just outrageous. And of course, in that battle, it looks as if Pep has the upper hand.
The battle for the Premier League title came to blows at the Etihad last night, with Manchester City cruising to a comfortable 4-1 victory over title rivals Arsenal. It was master versus the apprentice, as Guardiola took on his former assistant Arteta in a match that was highly regarded as the title decider. It was a dominant first half display by Guardiola's men, and goals from Kevin De Bruyne and John Stones found them 2 goals to the good at the break. In the second half, the dominance continued for Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne fired in his second goal of the game before Rob Holding managed to pull one back for Arsenal, but it was too little too late, and Erling Haaland wrapped this one up with his 49th goal of the season. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has branded the result as important in their chance for the Premier League title, but believes the league is far from over.
An important game, not decisive, but really, really important. We played really good from the beginning until the end. I know against which opponent we played, and still there, top of the league. I know it can be naive for what I'm saying, but the reality is we are 2 points behind.
Another disappointing result for Arsenal, but Arteta believes there is still plenty of time given the amount of football to be played.
First of all, we have to lift our players because they suffered tonight and they played against an exceptional team. They know that, but we are an exceptional team as well. But today we weren't at the races at the level that it was required to win the game.
Where does this result leave the Premier League table? Arsenal have managed just 1 win in their last 5, which means their 8-point lead they had back in January is now cut down just to 2. City have now won 12 games on the bounce, and they have 2 games in hand on their London rivals, meaning the league title is firmly in their hands. Arsenal have 5 fixtures remaining against the likes of Chelsea, Newcastle and Brighton, and they will know they need a perfect end of the season to have any chance of winning the title. Or will it be Manchester City who win the league and win the treble for the first time in their history, with a Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid and an FA Cup final against great rivals Manchester United still to come? It's all to play for in the run-in for the Premier League title. Will it be Arsenal and Arteta who win their first league trophy in 20 years? Or will it be Manchester City and Pep Guardiola who lift their 5th in the past 6 seasons?
Well, I think Arsenal have blown it.
Yeah, it's over.
That's the kind of punditry we want. Yes, it's over.
No, the one thing that confused me last night.
Go on.
Stones' header.
Yeah.
When the TV showed it, the replay after it, he was offside. But when VAR showed it with the line, he wasn't offside.
Yeah, but there's a leg. There was a leg when the ball was played. That leg that we've been talking about.
Yeah, but when the point I'm trying to make is when the TV watched it, they went, that's definitely offside.
Yeah.
That's offside. It's not even debatable. Yeah. And then it goes upstairs to VAR, and they come back and say, no, it was offside.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of confusion somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, because the angle you're getting from television doesn't give you the exact angle that VAR's looking at it, and that's the problem with it. It's not a problem. It's a matter of fact. He's offside or he's onside, and luckily for him, there was an ankle of an Arsenal player playing the ball. It'd blow your mind now, wouldn't it? Are you a fan of VAR?
Not how long it takes. Obviously, if it gets the things right, then yeah, but you're still making mistakes. And I know we were discussing the thingies the last couple of weeks with the sending off with Tam and that. And that, again, I think the one with the Aberdeen boy and then the one with the Hibs boy the other day there as well, they're winning the ball and you can't just magic your leg away and the follow through's there. But it's one of those things. It's the referee's got to go by the laws of the game and what's been written down. But I think sometimes common sense needs to prevail.
Yeah. Just before we go, always like getting in, Darren. I'm delighted that you won the title with Stirling Albion. As you move on, obviously you juggle jobs between being the estate agent to suddenly being the manager of a club and having to try and get the best out of the players that are available. There are chairmen and there are chief executives out there who look and say, yep, I look at his history, I look at what he's done. You'd like to manage at a full-time level, and at a higher level sometime in the future, the way you're going at the moment.
Yeah, of course. That's always been my goal since I started out. I mean, the staging side of things, I can always kind of go back to that. My aim is to try and get back full time. That's what I've kind of worked towards. I've been maybe unlucky on a few occasions with 3 or 4 interviews. Thanks, Rafi. But
absolutely, weather them now.
No, but it's one of those things. If the team's doing well, then obviously it looks good in you. For me, then now obviously we've been promoted. It's brilliant for the club, brilliant for the city. We're already starting to prepare now for kind of League One and what we can achieve and where we can go for there. But obviously everything else, for me, is to try and get back full time. So
yeah, that would be great, Rafi. I mean, a young manager trying to, and he's certainly got the experience of the lower leagues as well.
Well, I think the pleasing side to Darren's is it looks as if a lot of clubs and a lot of boards are going down that way. You know, Aberdeen's a perfect example. You know that they're seeing young guys who've done a wee bit in the game, you know, and maybe it is time now to give them a chance rather than looking afield, because every time a job comes up, there's about 25 guys for England who have never experienced Scottish football, you know, and they're getting a shout first, so it'd be nice if the Scottish guys could get a shout.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, until he gets that job, Rafi, might be a chance for Darren to have a look over your mansion that looks over the huge hills, maybe value it and then get you out of that area and sell the house.
I might be having a word with him anyway.
Brilliant. Doesn't get any better than that. Darren, thanks for coming in. Absolutely brilliant to have you in the studio again. Special guests aplenty on the programme as ever. Don't forget you can get that exclusive one-to-one with Neil Lennon, well worthy of your consideration. And of course, if you want to view all our unique video content, hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free to watch on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you to so many of you for the fabulous figures that we're getting back. The football family is growing. From Darren, Ruffy and from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.